Alright, today I'm going to show you a new project, what I've been working on. It's a Class 1, harder to drive a little bit because smaller tires. Class 1 usually would mean street legal kind of a thing. So you try to make your tires a little bit smaller to fit into a better, more street legal. My Class 1, I've always had a thing for Subarus, so I went with a Subaru Brat. I happened to pick up a Subaru Brat body in a trade somewhere, old Tamiya style. And I've always wanted to build a Class 1 out of it. I've actually been working on this project for about 2 years. Anybody who's seen my build threads knows I tried doing a MRC axles under it, custom frame. I tried making a custom chassis, a bunch of different stuff that I thought that I was going to do with this thing, and I never liked how it turned out. Subarus are an independent suspension vehicle, and while I've owned a couple of old wagons with lift kits under them and off-roaded them in a 1-1 style, I never liked the solid axle idea that normal crawlers have. And so I finally decided to go with a CC-01 chassis. The CC-01 chassis is independent front suspension with a solid rear axle. I believe it came in about 3 different styles. It came as a Mitsubishi Pajero, as a Jeep Wrangler, and a Volkswagen Touareg. The entire thing is a plastic tub with fenders built in, which makes it kind of nice for that. This particular one has had a lot of modification done to it before I got it, and then I modified it. It has been 4-linked. I shortened up. The last owner had the axle kind of stretched out. I shortened it up pretty good. I put really short 4-link up in here, and I changed up how the rear shocks mount. I moved them way out to the back edge of the tub just so that I needed to fit my Subaru Brat body as far as the wheelbase went, which is kind of a short wheelbase. So this is the Subaru Brat body that I have had for a long time. Tamiya made these way back in the day, and then they re-released them. You can't see that. This camera's not that good. They re-released them a few years ago. They were a 2-wheel drive, kind of based on the Frog chassis. Not real great kind of a thing. Same as all their stuff was the same. Grasshopper, Frog, Sand Scorcher. They all had the same chassis and transmission setup basically in them. But I like the body. It's got decent detail, the little Subaru logo. Whoever had this before me painted it up with the yellow and blue Subaru logo, old school, which I enjoyed that. I threw a high-tech 645 in there, which is plenty for this type of rig. It uses like a turnbuckle kind of a deal. Your servo is actually mounted up here instead of down here on it. Just a generic, made my own body mount with some Velcro on it. Back here, all the original body mounts, they were kind of messed up anyway, so I just shaved them flat with a Dremel, put some Velcro on there. You'll notice the Subaru body had a hole in it for the transmission and shocks to come through. I cut out a piece of thin steel and then drilled and bolted it right there and put my Velcro right on that, so that holds my body on with the Velcro in the back. Part of the reason why I did that, it's a little bit heavier, yes, but I plan on making my own roll cage up inside here, and that's going to give me something to weld my roll cage right onto the floor of it, or bolt my roll cage on, whichever I want to do. Obviously, at some point, I got to get like some rear glass. I think I can find on eBay the plastic windows for this, or make some of my own. That's fine. So I've shortened up the wheelbase quite a bit on it, and it's got the 4-link on it, which will give it a little better. My shocks, I played around and took about 3 different positions before I finally got my shocks where I needed them to mount in the back. I think this one over here is bent though, because it doesn't work right, so we'll play around with that later. Maybe throw some RC 4-wheel drive shocks on there or something. So this is the rig. It's four-wheel drive. It has the GRU, the gear reduction unit in it, or GRU as I like to call them. Got a 45 turn energy motor in there. The GRU unit is loud, as you'll see when we go to run it, because of the way the planetary gear system works in there. It is noisy. It screams when you run it. This setup has a this particular vehicle can only take a 20 tooth or a 16 tooth pinion, and so it would be pretty fast without that. Not a very good crawler or off-road machine, like more of a basher. I don't really want to break stuff, so we got to deal with that. Some drawbacks of this chassis: notice how much I can move these tires. They have like a bell crank system in there with just a little tiny metal bar. I don't know if you can see it. It's like a little metal bar up in there that connects the two. Tons of slop. I've read on RCC that everybody changes those out. I guess there's an upgrade available. I'm gonna try to find one, because this got bump steer like crazy, so I need to fix that steering. I plan on attaching making my own bumper, front and rear, a roll bar for it, and maybe see if we can't throw a driver up in there too. So this is how it's running right now. I like the way it looks. It's got just the right amount of lift in the back when it's level, that like a real Subaru would have had. That extra weight of that plate in the back actually kind of helps the suspension to settle out a little bit. And I like it. It's fun. It's little. It's hard. You can't crawl over the stuff like you do with the Tundra or the Class 3s, but it's fun. It's a little more challenging, and I kind of like that little small fun factor of it. So let's grab a tripod and show you how it runs. You can hear that loud noise. That's what I was talking about. It's really loud with that gear reduction. So normally I could walk right over this rock pile. Let's see how we can do with this guy. Already hung up. Hard to drive it. A little more challenging. The 3-cell gives us some snot for climbing, but those smaller tires just want to catch on everything. Kind of like how you had to drive a real Subaru. A lot of speed and power through it because it didn't have enough power to crawl over things. Haha! And we just shut it off. It gets in there quick. So as you can see, it kind of falls in holes that aren't normally a problem for the bigger rigs. This thing just doesn't have the wheelbase to crawl over. It sure makes you think about your line when you're driving it. You can't drive over top of great big round boulders, obviously. So that's what I've got so far. You've seen how it performs. I'll be posting up more pictures and video as I do the bumpers and roll bar and stuff like that on it. Thanks for looking. Remember to subscribe. We need subscribers, lots of you, because then I can get sponsors. Wink, wink. Little encore edition. Added this. This actually came with this, but I think it's going to be an improvement. Full. It's like just bent metal, like galvanized stuff. Pretty actually flimsy. You can move it easily. But this will help it slide better. You saw I kept getting hung up on stuff, so this is going to cover up that whole exposed axle and transmission, and it'll make it flat with this front skid. So hopefully I'll slide over some of those rocks that you saw were grabbing me up pretty good and that'll let me slide over things a little better. So we'll try